let's go over the game real quick because I said I want to bring up the
Sure.
website, and
Yeah,
because like I
sounds
said,
good.
I want to transition into the actual game because we've talked game mechanic or the everything else, and so now I think we should reward everybody to actually talk about your project. All right, so the releases, it's called Duo. It releases the 23rd of October,
Yep.
so 10 days
10
from
days
now,
from now. It's coming
right?
up fast.
God, time is so fast. We got CNFT Con coming up, and it's just insane. All right, so here we have on the site, so the black card owner, right? These are the people that you're saying uh, pose the question, right? And then they
Yeah.
judge the answer. So, like, I play, what gives me uncontrollable gas, and somebody can be like Ethereum, right?
Yes, I still love
Or
that one.
or some other person might be like hot dogs, milk,
Right? Baked beans.
you know, and then the person will be like, huh. These were all a little too obvious, but the Ethereum one took a little bit more creativity, right?
Yeah.
So how does that
Yeah.
work? Do
So
they just select the? Because you say a duo, but obviously you're playing with multiple people, or not?
yeah, so some of the core gameplay that we've conceptualized, and I'll preface this by saying this is pre-alpha. We're learning a lot as we go. This may not be how the final game works, but it's maybe a good illustration. And we'll be adding some more to the website this week actually to walk through this because we think it's fairly close to what the ultimate gameplay will look like. Um, so a core component of any game is being able to play with a group of people. Maybe that's your friends, maybe they're strangers. So there's certainly going to be some kind of matchmaking process or a lobby where you and 9 other people, we think it's going to be around 10 players on the color card side. So these color card players, they join a lobby and then they get to see a selection of black cards that are in play. So these are other owners who have put their black cards into a queue to be played on. And then every group of color card players, they can vote on the black card that they want to play for that match. And so in that match, they might choose this, which gives me uncontrollable gas, because they know they've got the Ethereum card, and that's a really funny one. And so they say, hey, I'm going to vote for the uncontrollable gas one, but maybe the other players vote for other cards. So ultimately, there's an algorithm that just says, well, the uncontrollable gas got 60% of the vote. It's most likely going to be the one that is chosen, but there's still a chance for the other black cards to be chosen. It's just a weighted roll of which card is chosen for that match. And then that match starts with the black card that is chosen. And everybody gets to play their best color card on that black card. So that match at that point is kind of finalized in terms of gameplay. And the last thing that needs to happen is that black card owner needs to come back and vote on which is the best one for that specific card. And that would complete a round. So we would imagine a match to take maybe around 3 minutes, start to finish. And then a round we might leave open for an hour or even longer to give a more passive gameplay to the black card owners. So as part of this whole facilitation, figuring out what those timings are, the durations of things, those are elements that we hope to really dive into with our alpha gameplay. And then pre-alpha is a little bit more of the game mechanics of, what does it look like if you're just playing with strangers or you're playing with a group of your friends? And what does it look like if you can write your own punchlines to these jokes or to these questions versus using ones that you have kind of in your hand, right? So if you only own a certain number, what does that look like? And can you go out into a marketplace and buy ones that you really like? So maybe I really like this Ethereum one and I'm willing to go buy that for a certain price versus being able to write my own or unlocking them at random. So that's a
Well, let
lot
me
of the
ask you
questions that we're trying
this.
to answer. Yeah.
So take the Ethereum card, for example. Will there be just one in the entire set, or maybe you have that one, there's 25 of them, or there's 50 of them?
Yeah. So I think where we're at, we haven't finalized this yet, but I think we're going to be doing based off of the type of cards. So black cards, I think we're going to have in the Genesis deck 9 copies, and they'll have different rarity values. So as you can see, the black card here, people don't trust trees because they are blank. That has a border, gradient border around it. That's a level of rarity that it contains. The color represents the humor type that we've classified it as. And then in the bottom right-hand corner is a signature. So those are ways that we can collaborate with other influencers in the space, or maybe some streamers in the future. That adds, again, another level of rarity on top of everything.
So we could do like a whole Buffy bot series where they're all
Yeah.
robotic answers, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You can put your little Buffy bot in the right-hand corner.
There we go.
But yeah, so there's going to be multiple copies of these cards, because if you start talking about in this Genesis deck collection, where we're minting 5,000 black cards and 50,000 color cards, and those will come in decks of 10 or packs of 10. And those are all going to be minted at random with random rarities assigned to them. But with that, you have to think about that might serve 1,000 or 2,000 players. But if we're talking about how do we scale up to 10,000 players, 100,000 players, 1,000,000 players around the world, it's not enough cards, right? And so we want to kind of seed the game and like get it moving in the right direction. But then allow our players ultimately, there will be some game mechanic, and we'll talk about that at a later date, that allows you to help create new packs of cards that are sold out into a marketplace, in which new players coming in can buy into the game.
What would be a cool concept is, say you have the Genesis deck, right?
Yep.
But like as a player, like I have the Ethereum card, right? And if there was some way where I could duplicate that to make like a series, like a version 2
Yep.
and a version 3, so that other people can collect them, but they never have the Genesis one. They only have the version 1 or the version 2 or the version 3. You know.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're kind of on the right track there, Marco.
Well, I mean, I just think of it like with Magic, right? Like you have the different, like where they release like the different legacy packs and the legacy decks, where they're the same card but maybe new artwork or new,
Right.
edition number type of thing.
Well, and there's also opportunities for us as we continue to grow. I mean, we hope this project's successful, but obviously there's no guarantees in that. I mean, I guess we'll know a big chunk of that on launch day.
How about this? Sorry, my mind is very.
No, that's okay. I understand. Once you get into this, you just, oh yeah, and then this idea and that idea. That's why I get so pumped about it.
70% of the Genesis, right, can be duplicated. Like not duplicated, but you'll be able to use them to sell in Series 2, Series 3, whatever the same core, right? But there's 25% that will never be duplicated, right? So that way it rewards people who jump into each series, because they'll have those 25 cards or 25, whatever, that will never be duplicated, right? It's kind of like, I think Magic, I'm going back to Magic again, has like a list of like 100 cards or 50 cards that will never be issued in any other collection. Like these were always part of the beta or part of the alpha, and those are the only time that those cards will ever be printed.
Yeah. Well, all I can say, Marco, is I would encourage everybody to come and participate in our pre-alpha gameplay, as well as maybe along the collector side, you might be thinking a little bit more towards what we call these signature cards. So cards with the signature in the bottom right-hand corner, or maybe it's a collaborative effort with stake pool operators who want to engage their community, or maybe other influencers in the space that say like, hey, this sounds like fun. I want a part of me in this game for forever, right? As long as it's being played.
Well, let me ask you this. Are they going to be NFTs or are they going to be FTs?
Each one of these cards will be an NFT. And then we will also have a native gameplay token at some point in the future.
Wait.
The gameplay token itself is what's going to fuel your ability to play in rounds, and also act as rewards for winning rounds or participating in rounds.
So what I mean, what I mean by like NFT versus FT, right? Like, so like when you have the tokens, they stack. Like it'll say like there's 80,000 of these, and you either
Yep.
have 1, 5, or 10, right? But with the
Yep.
NFTs, you actually have to number like Ethereum card 1, Ethereum card 2, Ethereum card
Yep.
3, 4. And so what you're saying is these cards will be NFTs, so they'll be like Ethereum 1, Ethereum 2, Ethereum
Correct.
3,
Yeah.
rather than
So
stackable.
yeah. So for example, this Ethereum card here that's got the signature on it, that might be a 1 of 5. Or it might be the only Ethereum card that has a signature on it. That a lot of that is going to be built into our minting algorithm, which determines rarity types and also determines kind of a random assortment of signatures across all of the cards to begin with. And then in the future, we expect to do that in collaboration with other stakeholders in the Cardano community or the gaming community that say, hey, I would love to have a limited edition run of some things that I've found funny or I've owned in this game. And maybe there's a process of they take existing cards that they own and they send it into a smart contract and we swap that for something that is limited edition in partnership with that creator or that gamer in the economy.
Yeah, we did something not similar, but with the signature, we did on the muses. There's
Mm-hmm.
4 variations. There's 700 in total, but there's 300 of the base pose, 100 or 200 of the secondary pose. But then since there were pinups, we did this whole distressed version of each that looks like they came out of an old magazine, right? Like there was a
Right.
fold out, and then we put in the crease, and then we actually put the character's signature, so it looked like the character signed it, as well,
Right.
and
Right.
made those limited to like 125 and 75. Yeah, so
Yeah.
we added a little bit of that for the hardcore collector.
Yeah. No, there's a
Cool.
lot of possibilities, and that's what I love about this space is
Well, see,
you meet great people. I mean, I've got amazing help now within the Duo community of, I mean, all sorts of people who are helping make this a reality. Couldn't do it by myself.
that's one of the things. The reason I brought up the whole NFT versus fungible token um, thing is because um, in gaming, I felt like you really need more of the fungible tokens rather than to really make them work on a mass scale, right? But you also
Right.
want to have
Well,
the NFTs for the collectible side of things.
yes and no. I mean, I think that if we look at, your game pieces, right? So there's game pieces that exist within your game. For us, it's these cards.
Right.
And then there's this layer of transactions, right? So this is where your fungible tokens or your native token would exist, which acts as the reward mechanism for ownership of this, but also the ability to say, hey, you don't have to give up or sacrifice maybe your non-fungible token ownership in order to earn rewards and value out of the game. So if you can collect these cards and you can also play them and interact with them often within gameplay, you do need another
Well,
layer, right? And so this is where, again, going back to our Fund 6 proposal, what is the relationship between your native tokens, your fungible tokens, and your NFTs, your game pieces that say,
right.
hey, I do own this 1 of 43, and I can also play it and earn value out of it through ongoing gameplay.
Right, but what I mean is like, okay, like so if when you're programming the game, right,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to put in like certain parameters so that it recognizes things, right? And unfortunately, with the native token or with the NFT, the its unique identifier is its name. So you have to put in the coding that the name plus whatever is what works, right? So you have to go down the line and have that entire string of those NFTs that'll work as this game piece, right? Because this one game piece will have the same mechanic or the same function in the game, but there's like 5,000 pieces of it, right? Or 200 or 80 or 40 or 20, right?
Right.
Like
So
of the
its
Ethereum
unique
card.
identifier is actually a fingerprint. And that's why it's important to have these NFTs on the blockchain. So it's not actually the Ethereum primary text on the card, that is its identifier. During
Nope.
gameplay, that's like,
Right.
oh, the value is what is the primary text.
Right, but the
But
fingerprint
maybe
still
there's
has to be unique
right, right.
but also part of, so it has to be unique, but at the same time you have to collect all those unique ones to let the game know that while they're unique, they represent the same thing, right? Like the word Ethereum. So you're going to have the Ethereum card is going to have, let's say it's limited to 50, right?
Yep.
So you're
Yep.
going to have 50 fingerprints that all track back to the word Ethereum.
Right.
Where if you had the Ethereum as a native token, just a regular token,
Mm-hmm.
then it wouldn't matter. You don't have to do that because they would all stack. And then in your binder or in your collection, you would just say that I have 5 of the Ethereum versus where your binder would actually physically show you all 5 of the same one.
Right.
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 So
Well, it's a
that's
little
where
bit, yeah,
one's a
it's a
little bit
little
more
bit like,
bloated and cleaner, you know.
sure. I mean, I think if you look at like Pokemon card collection, it's maybe a most common example of if I own that Charizard, right, it may never enter gameplay because it's all locked up. Now, every Charizard from a gameplay function has the same or similar attributes if it's the same Charizard, but there's different versions of it, right? There's like the ultimately, there's the really rare ones, the holographic ones. And so, how do you create something that is unique that somebody can collect, but also has a similar impact on gameplay? For example, if a black card owner only wants to choose the most rare card as the winner for this round, maybe that's their MO. And it's just like, look, if it's not a signature card or if it's not a super rare card, I'm just not going to vote for it. And so it doesn't matter what the text says, it's just the rarity level of the card that they choose as the win condition for playing in that. And over time, that pattern may emerge, and you see that, oh, this black card owner, it's only voting on the rarest cards. So if I get the rarest cards, I'll likely win those matches. Or if you want to collect all 50 copies of this Ethereum card, maybe that's your MO as a collector is regardless of rarity, I'm going to go and buy every single one of these
Right.
Ethereum cards
I'm
so that
talking
I'm the
more
only one.
like because you can still do that with fungible tokens, right? Like I can have the holographic Ethereum card limited to 5 and have those 5 stacking tokens, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's and you can do it also like this Ethereum card is the blue, and there's 50 of them, right? And it's still
Right.
not be an NFT, but be a fungible token, right? And then it would just mean less coding for the actual game, and people it would be easier for them to collect, like in stacks rather than especially when you start to dealing with thousands and thousands of players and thousands of cards, right? The having that whether it's an NFT or an NT, right, a fungible token versus non-fungible token actually is more of a mechanic issue rather than a collectibles issue. You get what I'm saying? You can
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
put
I mean,
collectability in the fungible token, right?
well, I guess it maybe we're just missing each other in the definition of fungible token here because uh, for us, fungible token is something that can be exchanged for its exact same value, right? So, like the regulation card equals the Ethereum card, or the Ethereum card number one equals the same value as Ethereum card number two. That's something that we don't want to do. We don't want to limit the game in that way. Whereas from a gameplay mechanic, yes, we can look at the primary text and record that. But remember, we're not also, as the game makers, we're not the ones who are dictating the win conditions for every match. So all we need to,
Yeah, I get that part. But like, for example, jet chickens, right?
Mhm.
Are you familiar with jet chickens at all?
I've heard of it, but I'm not that familiar.
Think of it similar to it's right now. There isn't a gameplay mechanic behind it, but they all have stats like a magic cards or Pokemon cards, right? You buy a
Mhm.
pack, you get different ones. There's a randomized stats, right? But
Yep.
they're all fungible tokens, right? And then and uh, they have rather than NFTs on some of
So it
them.
means they can be changed at any time.
No, once the policy ID is locked, it's locked. You can't change them. It's the artwork and the stats and the metadata is the same. Like
Sure.
the only difference is your uh, is that the one artwork and the one piece, there's just like 50 copies of it or 100 copies of it, right? Versus where
Right.
so they all use the same fingerprint, right?
Right.
So no matter what, these 50, these 100, these 1,000, right, all use the same fingerprint, the same graphic. They're identical in every single way. It's just there's 1,000 of them, right?
Right.
And they can be locked just like an NFT. They can be they work exactly like NFTs, except for they're locked or they're just copies of one. Where
Right.
the NFT is 100% unique. There is no copies of it. It has a unique fingerprint. So in gaming, having the one fingerprint, the one thing, and having multiple copies of the same thing that are all identical is way more functional for collecting, stacking, and programming than having 1,000 unique. Well, they're all identical. The only difference is the one is 1, 2,
Right.
3, 4. While
Right.
they're all unique, they're still basically the same.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're honestly splitting hairs here on, or I think we're saying the same thing.
Right. I think it goes back to terminology and stuff like that. It's just
Yeah.
I think one of the first things when designing these games is whether or not to go with a fungible token or a non-fungible token.
Yep. Absolutely.
Because I think
Cool.
it works into the mechanics. But all right, let's get back to the game itself. Was there anything else you have here?
No, I mean, I think that's really the core gameplay. I mean, obviously, we're gonna have a layer of these, what we would call our gameplay tokens, that will interact in each one of these rounds. I don't know that we've got that gameplay fully outlined to where we want that. There's a few pre-alpha mechanics that we're still testing through right now before we finalize some of that. But that's something we'll be sharing here later this week or early next week prior to launch so that everyone knows kind of how and what that gameplay looks like along the entire span of our roadmap.
Perfect. Okay. Well, I'll remind everybody to go to the website. It is getduo.gg and check them out on the 23rd. Make sure you pick up, if not one, but multiple of the Genesis collection. And join the Discord, join the community, and help them make this a thing.
Yeah, we'd love to have you. We're excited
All right.
version, and we're learning a ton from it. So the more.
I think you're breaking up here.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying the more input we have, the better we can make this.
And if you want to get some early fun ones, check out they're all the same. There's only two versions. So if you buy multiples, they'll have the same card for the promos. So don't buy some thinking that they're all going to be different. Only the gold one, I think, is different from the regular one. Because I'll probably get some emails like, I bought 5 and they were all the same. Like,
Yeah, these are for your guys's promotion of it, which we really appreciate.
All right. Well, that definitely went on longer, and like I said, we could probably keep chatting for another couple of hours. But
Oh my
I think it's
goodness.
time to let everybody go. And thanks again for joining us. And take care, everybody. Thanks again, Jason.
Thanks, Marco. Appreciate it.